Hi everyone. So recently there has been a widespread of news that the change in government in Nepal and the widespread protest in Nepal and the tectonic shifts in the political spheres and the political headwinds in the Nepal is going on, right? So before going into the matter, okay, what exactly happens in the Nepals, we have to go into the scenario exactly कि where exactly the Nepal is situated, right? तो नेपाल अगर हम देखें ना तो भाई देखो छोटा सा देश है, जैसे कि इंडिया चारों तरफ तो नहीं बोलेंगे, थ्री टाइप्स, इट्स what three type closed by India, one side, this side and this side, and one side is through the what, China. So that means only two countries, that is the India and China, that is surrounded by this Himalayan state whose capital is Kathmandu. This state, the Nepal, is called as the Himalayan state because it's situated in the valley at the majority part is lies in the Himalayas region, and that means Bhutan's and Nepal, they are rightly called as the Himalayan state, right? So the Himalaya passes through rest of other parts of India, what I would say also China, Pakistan, all these regions are also there, but this is the Himalayan state. And lastly, I would say since 2001, right? Since 2000, Nepal is not a peaceful nation, and this is not the first time that Nepal has experienced this kind of scenario. तो but right, what I would say कि अगर हम अभी देखें ना कि नेपाल का ये जो सिनेरियो है ना, दिस इज यू कैन सी हाउ द पार्लियामेंट इज बॉर्निंग ऑफ द नेपाल्स एंड हियर इज अ ह्यूज प्रोटेस्ट दैट द पार्लियामेंट, द प्रोटेस्टर हैज सेट इनटू द fire. That means I would say the parliament is set into fire. Right here you can see how the thousands, the millions of Gen Z protesters are coming out in uniforms. Even many wears in uniforms of the school and colleges. They are tagging themselves as the Gen Z. They are tagging themselves what is a Gen Z protest. It's a what, next generation. It's a Gen Z protest. They are saying themselves that we are the Gen Z, having banner, having placards in the hand. They are saying we are the Gen Zs. We are the what, Gen Zs, and these Gen Zs are protesting throughout the country. And since I would say 9th of September, everything has changed. As there's a huge what damage to the public properties. There is a tectonic shift in the political sphere. Kopi Oli has resigned himself, and the new government will be formed, and the army has taken into the streets, and the whole nation is now taken but over by the is the army. Now the army and the police, all the security agencies, they are taking over the security, and they are trying to calm the peoples, particularly the Zanjis peoples, the Zanjis protesters. Now why this unfold? What are the backgrounds? Now we will move to the background. What exactly happened? Before going into the background, I will have a look, a thought here to what is the populations and how the compositions. So Nepal is largely a Hindu nation. 80% of the population is the Hindus, and the second dominant religions is the Buddhism, and rest of things are coming. Right. That means the dominant, I would say, is about Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam, Kairat, and Christianism. So these are the populations. So according to the what, 2021 census, the Hinduism is dominating the what, Nepal's. That means I would say the composition of the population is lies this, and this is a dominant, I would say, Hindu nations. Okay, this is how. Now why this? So this is what Nepal's where exactly situated we have gone through. Then what exactly the background? What exactly the backgrounds? The backgrounds, I will comes to the background, but before that, the 9th of September, when the protester they started to gather in front of the parliament and the nearby region, right, in the nearby regions of the Nepal's parliament, they started to do the peaceful protest against the government. Now what was the triggering point? See, the every protest will have the cumulative and consolidated, I would say, what number of factors lies there, but one triggering point must be there. Like in this case of Nepal, the Nepal was facing so much of crisis was there. As the Genghis are saying, there are so many of causes that force them to what, take the street, or they come out to the streets and the protest against the government. Now what were the causes? So before that, I will comes to what exactly happens in the 9th of September. In the 9th of September, when the protesters come out to the streets, they started to protest in front of the Nepal's parliament, and suddenly, all of a sudden, they said, the Genghis is saying that the protest has been hijacked, and the protesters they turned into the violent. They turned violent, and they started to rampage the public properties and the what I would say the government buildings, and everything happens. And more than 20 Gen Zs they died in these incidents. And the Nepal is ravaged. The Nepal is ravaged. The airport has been taken over by the army, taken over by the army of Nepal, and everything got finished within 24 hours. Just within 24 hours, everything got finished of the Nepals, and the Nepals is now is the top of the town, is the top of the town, and I would say top of the towns of the top table. That means everywhere in the world there is a topic is what is viral. The topic is got viral. That is the Nepal's the government change in Nepal. Kopi Oli resigned, right? Everything happens. Then what exactly happens? Whether this is the first time in the Southeast Asia that the student protest led to the change of the government? No. Before that, in the 2024, we have seen in Bangladesh what happens exactly, and there was the what change in governments in Bangladesh, and then we saw it's 2022 as well. That is the what Sri Lanka. That means 2022 Sri Lanka, 2024 Bangladesh, then it comes to the Nepal. So that means the student protest in the Southeast Asia is marking one of the what I would say significance what marks or they are changing the politics, and that also I would say the fragility of the politics of the South Asia is showing to the world, right? And apart from that, Nepal is not stable, Pakistan is not stable, Myanmar is not stable. I would say the neighborhood of India is not stable at all, and this is the happening. How exactly happening? Now comes to the backgrounds. The background says that the Nepal's economy is not functioning well. The Gen Zs are saying, those who are protesting here, they are saying that this is not the what cumulative, this is not the only sole of reason that why we are on the street. They are saying that since the long the Nepal economy is not performing well. More than 20% of the youths of the Nepal, they are unpaid. Inflation is high. The country's main source of income is what? That is, I would say, that is the remittance which is coming from the rest of the world, where the Nepal's peoples are doing work and they're sending money back to their home, right? So that means the unemployment is the one of the biggest reason, followed by corruptions. So they are saying, the peoples are saying, the Gen Zs are saying that the Nepal economy is crippling. The Nepal economy is not performing well, and that is why it's a long-standing demand of the peoples of the Nepal, and not the youth only. They have been demanding to perform the high of the economy, but economy is not performing, and the government is showing some wrong data of unemployments and the corruption. The every sections of the officials and the hierarchy of the governments, they are having the apprehensions, not only the apprehensions of the job and the inflations, but they have been saying that the corruption is one of the fundamental theme of, or I would say, reason for the protest. Corruption, right? And that everything cumulatively happened in the 9th of September, when the students with uniform from the schools and colleges, they started to gather and hijack the street, right? So these are the sum of the what I would say. And on the top of that, the banks, real estates, they are not also performing pretty well, right? So politically, if it comes to in the 2000, right, what happened exactly in the 2001? So in the Nepal, this political turmoils is not a new things. This has been happening since the 2021. In 2001, what happens, right? It's not 2021, it's 2001. What happens that the royal prince, that time the crown prince Dipendra killed, and his 9 royal family member including king was killed. That is the Birendra. That time happens. So that time again it was 2001's that huge protest killed the king of that time, and the royal family was destroyed, right? And it was completely ravaged. Then what happens in 2008? Again, that the monarchy of the government continued up to 2006, and finally they got a new constitution in 2005 2015, where, and the same year the Nepal was strikes with the deadly earthquakes, where India also helped so much. After 2015's, right, there was again the what power, the COVID for the powers. The power started to concentrate on the KP Oli Sharma and what Puspa and such, but I would say only 2-3 peoples, and it would be like what Puspa Kamal's, the Hals and Sher Bahadur Deuba. So these are the certain peoples. It is believed that the Nepal politics was completely under their controls, and that is why, because of these peoples, the corruption started to cripple every section of the society. There was nepotism, there was no public trust, there was political institution has correspondingly eroded, and the younger citizens started to raise the voice. When the younger citizens started to raise the voice against the nepotism, against the corruption, against the malfunctioning of the officials, or the, I would say, system of the administration, the government started to restrict the social media. They asked the peoples, as the obviously the Nepal is having one of the, what I would say, one of the largest youth population of the South Asia. And when the students, when the youth started to protest against the government by using the social media, government started to what do is that on the 8th, but September, on the September 8th, the thousands of young, that means government started to strike down. Government said, okay, there would be no use of WhatsApp, there would be no Telegram, there would be no Twitter, nothing would be what, everything would be closed in Nepal. And that is why on the 8th of September, the young people, they started to gather in front of the what, Maitighar Mandala and the federal parliament. Then all unfolded, right? They started to what, then there were starters of what I would say, the scruples, the starters of the protestings, and the starters, everything was tossed. Then what is the latest development? Now this what banned WhatsApp, they banned Instagram, they banned Facebook, everything. And that is why the Gen Zs, they started to what, took over the streets. And this man is now resigned, and there is a speculation that Sushila Karki 73, who used to be the first chief justice, woman chief justice of the Nepal, is going to take over the government, interim governments. According to the Gen Z's, protesters are backing them, backing him. Whom? To the, that is Sushila Karki, the retired chief justice and the first chief justice, woman chief justice of Nepal. And it is said the Gen Zs are backing and having talk with Sushila for the interim government of the Nepals. So this is how the development has been unfolded in the Nepals. But we are having so much of implication for the India. For the India's point of view, we are having the Nepal's, India is the leading trade partners of Nepal's, and we are having transitions, we are having so much of investments also in the Nepal's. We are also doing their connectivity, the Nepal also having connectivity by the transition is given through the Kolkata, Haldia and Visakhapatnam ports, so that they can transit their goods from the India through the international connectivity that is done through this India's, what I would say, transit. The transitions, the transit passes through what, India's ports, right? So that means, apart from that, we are having more than what I would say, almost more than what, almost 1800 kilometer of land border we are sharing, right? It's approximately 1700 something, let's say, to be 1800, it would be some around, right? And including Sikkim, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, these are the states those who share boundary with the Nepal's. Now there is a security threat to India, and that is why Sikkim, West Bengal, particularly West Bengal, Bihar, UP and Uttarakhand states, the police has been what is been instructed to be high alerts, and the night long patrolling is been what instructed to the police, and the helplines already, the number of helplines also coming up for the help to the Indians, those who got stuck there in the Nepal. And what there is also a news is that those criminals were inside the jails, they got flee, and there is also opportunity for the infiltrations of what this condition or this situation may be, what maybe I'm saying maybe capitalized by some of the, what I would say, terrorists to infiltrate towards the India. That is why India need to be cautious to see to what exactly the development is happening from the security point of view, from the cooperation, from the politicals, everything. And I hope the international community and obviously India fast, because of the largest neighbor country, and their hopings, and they will have all the talk. I hope the back channel talk is going on, so that the solution will be fast, and we also do what hope there will be peace, stability and tranquility. The peace must come fast. Thank you everyone.